had to a friend's home. We were talking quietly. It was night when her dog started barking ferociously. I got up and looked out the window and felt amazed to see how the sensor security light illuminated so much of the backyard. Does everybody have a sensor light or something on their property? You could play baseball out there, you know, like a night game. They're so bright when they kick on. You can see everything. And that's quite a contrast to my childhood memories. They didn't have sensor lights. So growing up, we didn't have a single outside light, never mind one with a sensor. So with no other houses nearby, the nights were often pitch black, except for when we might have a bright full moon perhaps, but not like a sensor light. So on evenings when the family dog barked, my dad would always go outside to have a look around. And meanwhile, there's Mom sitting nervously waiting for him to come back in safely. I was always thankful that I wasn't the one who had to go out into that darkness. I actually felt sorry for my dad because it was the dad's job to have to go out into that deep, dark, scary night. Just like in the horror movies, how they always start, it was a dark and stormy night. Well, sometimes it really is a dark and stormy night. Luckily, there never really was anything out there. Most of the time, it was just the wind eerily blowing and knocking a tree branch down, or possibly hitting the side of the house, or sometimes you hear that scratching up against the building and you go, what is that? And it's just a tree. It's a tree branch scratching. But sometimes, even as adults, we can feel intimidated by the dark sometimes. And I was always told, don't be afraid of the dark, because the same things are there in the daytime that are in the dark. But instead of being out in a dark and scary yard, this particular darkness tries to infiltrate my mind sometimes. Darkness can come when we don't understand what's happening around us. Darkness can come when your future seems so uncertain, especially when you might be facing a decision that's possibly bewildering you or confusing you, almost like a chess game. What's your best move? Sometimes circumstances tempt us to doubt the certainty of infinite intelligence. So that's when I make it a point to remember those famous words that we as spiritualists are taught: in all things, keep an even mind. Does anybody actually do that? Seriously, when something's going on, does it ever enter your mind? Oh, Andrew Jackson Davis said, I do. I do. I try to keep an even mind. How many times have we had to get control of our anxious thoughts and late night terrors or worries keeping us awake? We need to remember that we do have this magic staff to lean on, to walk with, talk with, etc. Lean on. We need to remember that infinite intelligence, or God, has given us something. God has instilled something magical in all of us. So as I sat and meditated about speaking today, immediately my spirit guide stepped in. He counseled me. Remember, you have that spark of the divine in you forever. How can you even fear the dark when you have this this spark. Let your light work for you. Walk with it, talk with it, lean on it, always. Infinite intelligence illuminates our lives with this spark of the divine that He so generously bestowed upon each and every one of us, even you, Rosie. Remember that song we sang here in church? I don't know how long ago it was. It was Reverend Jackie Randall from Connecticut, and she made us sing This Little Light of Mine. Was anybody here for that?
Yeah.
It's almost like being in preschool. Okay, we're going to sing this song, and here as adults you're like, oh, I don't want to sing that song. But we did. We sang This Little Light of Mine. I'm going to let it shine. Remember that? This little light of mine. Well, we have our own built-in little light, the spark of the divine. And we are blessed with an ability to access at any time we need it. It can illuminate our life with the protection and compassion of our divine infinite intelligence. We can chase any darkness away. God is better than any censored security light. We have this powerful light within us, and it can be used as a candle to light each other's spark within. When someone is struggling alongside you and fails to see their own light, we need to go out of our way to help light the spark for our brothers and sisters when they struggle along life's path. I have been so blessed lately to see love in action, to see the actual hand of God being used right in front of us. I have been spending time at the Titusville Life Point Ministries cold shelter. I have been a part of God's hand working toward the blessing and betterment of those less fortunate. I have personally seen God's grace, compassion, and love in action. I have been a part of sheltering the homeless and disadvantaged of God's children, where they are welcome into this light. I have been a part of helping them light the spark of the divine in them, something that they most of the time really don't feel is there, really don't feel God's love or compassion or the concern of their fellow brothers and sisters. So many of them have been lost along the way for so many reasons, due to so many of life's circumstances. They're not all bad people, as some choose to believe. Some of you might have been close to losing your status in life, due perhaps to bad choices or sometimes just bad luck. I've seen the hand of God in action, witnessed by so many others as well. When we have these encounters with the less fortunate of God's children, it reminds us of the saying, "There for the grace of God go I." We don't always understand how these events have led to this downhill slide that so many have experienced, but we are certainly in no position to judge them either. All I know is what I've been taught by Spirit. We are here in service to others. I don't expect everyone to relate to this or especially live by it, because it's not meant for everyone. But it's meant for me and others like me that take up this challenge to help our fellow brothers and sisters. So this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, and I'm not alone. I see the spark of the divine right here in this room. So many of you have stepped forward and donated monetarily, materially to this outreach program in this church that goes directly to this shelter. I saw it at the shelter on a cold, rainy night this past week. But most importantly, I saw my brothers and sisters sharing their candle to chase away the darkness and light the spark in the lost. And through a lot of work and prayer, some are no longer lost. Many have been found. Many have been helped. It's the responsibility of the abundantly blessed to spread the good word and the good deeds that infinite intelligence expects of us. Spread the divine spark in you where it's needed and in your brothers and sisters. Sometimes you don't have to look any further than your own backyard. Sometimes you'll find that darkness right there among you. Turn on your sensor light and fill the darkness with light. Spirit knows we here have been enlightened or in the process of being enlightened. That's what called us here. That's what brings us here together. Do you really think that it's not to go forth and spread the word, spread the light, light someone's darkness of their soul perhaps? Aren't we all just spirit in a human form right now, living this life? Don't you really think we were put here for a reason? So our purpose, my spiritualist brothers and sisters, is to feed the hungry, whether physically or spiritually. We have such a calling here, such an intense purpose. Your soul has been enlightened by the spark of the divine. Spirit expects you to go forth with that intense spark that burns very brightly in you and be part of this process. Be part of love in action. Be part of God's love in sight to all of us. And I'm not going to say this message has been brought to you by Spirit, but it was. He was extremely emphatic about this, and also to send blessings to all that are here from the spirit world as well. But just as I was saying, we all look around us. We're all relatively warm and toasty. We have appropriate gear, clothing to wear. We have heat in our homes, as far as I know, in our cars. We don't struggle against the elements. Well, I'm going to tell you that I've seen firsthand this past week, especially when the temperature dropped, and you saw on the news all the big stories of the Salvation Army handing out blankets and jackets. But I'm going to tell you, they didn't open their doors 24 hours a day to provide heat, hot food, cots to sleep on. and fellowship with these people that most people look the other way when they walk by. I have seen somebody, like we always say, talk the talk, walk the walk. Well, this gentleman I'm referring to, I have known for the past 3 years, the pastor of Life Point Ministries. He opened his doors. He's the only coal shelter in North Brevard County, and the nearest one is down in Palm Bay in Melbourne. And I don't know if you're familiar with Brevard County, but it's about 76 miles long. And he's the only one that opened his doors. Didn't really have a whole lot of money, didn't know what he was doing, but he said God spoke to him and told him, these people are on the streets, it's getting cold, you have a building, you have a heat, let them in here, feed them, clothe them. They even have a portable shower trailer set up now, permanently there, which it used to just come once a week. Well, most of the shelters, I'm going to tell you, as soon as the sun comes up, they boot those people out the door. Well, this pastor said it's going to be cold all day. Like yesterday, it rained all day. That shelter stayed open. Those people were fed, clothed, they had board games to play, they were fed meals, they could take hot showers. They were treated like human beings. So I think as spiritualists, even though we give to them consistently, I give them our donations, everything from 20 to 30 dozen eggs from Miss Annette donates from her chickens. We have so much going over there. We've been a part of this, and people probably don't realize that. But this man is walking the walk. I personally nominated him for one of the local TV station awards, getting results. And I want to see, I know West 2 has already interviewed him, and he's spoken on the situation. And it's not just Brevard County, it's all over. But this is what Spirit's talking about. We are so blessed in so many ways, not just materially, spiritually as well, that we have an obligation, we have a responsibility to help others. And I'm not saying you have to personally go to the shelter and put your hours in or whatever, kind of like community service. Just donating is a big help. I have a cleaning business, and a lot of my customers know that I do this and donate. They donate all kinds of things, and I bring them to that shelter, and they are so graciously accepting of them and so thankful. So I know we as spiritualists have been taught we're here in service to others. This is all part of it. So you've got that spark in you, and you look to your friends or neighbors, and sometimes the spark has been extinguished for various reasons, or it's never been lit to begin with. But you have that divine spark of God in you, and it is your responsibility to reach out when you can and do for others. So I am closing this now with the strong blessings from the spirit world, because that's where this information came from, about this spark of the divine and how it relates to all of us in our day-to-day lives. So this little light of mine and yours, let's see them shine. Thank you.